Story 1. I stopped watching the news somewhere in 2020. It has had a massive positive impact on my mental health. I don't want to worry sick about things out of my control. It's a waste of energy. Story 2. Remember that billions of people came before you, and they lived through plagues, genocide, and every other kind of horror, whether natural or man-made. The stuff that worries you is child's play. You'll be okay. Struggle is a part of life for most people, and you are actually much more resilient than you believe. Story 3. Stop reading the news seriously. Start following some happy subjects. Follow Instagram accounts that feature things you are into: cooking, pets, animals, art, music. Don't click on that negative stuff. Remember, bad news sells. Scandals and tabloids sell, which is why they are rampant. People love that stuff for some reason. There's a reason why everyone stops to look at a car crash. Surround yourself with positivity. Story 4. If you are around long enough, maybe in your 30s, you start to realize the news wants you to think that there is always a crisis that is a threat to your livelihood. This makes you pay attention. They play up this fear. Things are in reality very chaotic, but also very stable. Chaotic in that no one is actually pulling the master strings. Stable in that all the world leaders are informed enough to know what lines, if crossed, would result in their inevitable death. Story 5. The world is not your concern. The world is also full of life and hope. You get to choose your focus: good, bad, or indifferent. It is up to you. Story 6. This is the #1 reason I do not have children. The Holocaust, slavery, war, genocide. The one thing humans are best at is killing other humans. Right now, today, a Ukrainian will lose their life fighting against an invading Russia. Will they have enough time to pray for their own soul? Here I sit, typing in my warm home, mildly inconvenienced when my tea gets cold. Story 7. Some people have religion. Others provide themselves with social feeds that are on the opposite spectrum of that, so they bring themselves happiness. Therapy if needed. Just some things off the top of my head. Story 8. You cannot do anything to stop it. Even if there are 10 of you, you will not stop it. There is nothing you can do. It is outside of your abilities. Do not try to convince yourself that you can do anything about it. You cannot. It is not your responsibility. Story 9. Everyone just escaped into their own little bubble, where everything is fine. Even in Ukraine, you can find happy living people only a few miles from the front lines. But it feels like the end of humanity. When they have killed everyone around here, they will come for you in your bubble. Story 10. Our species is a rare occurrence. We aren't meant to be here. Nothing is. We humans always think we are more, and yet we can still die in the most pathetic ways, like drowning in a puddle. The one constant that exists in life is death. It ends the same. Story 11. What helps me is thinking of the pain and suffering they have been spared. This year, we lost my mother-in-law, who wasn't very old, and my grandmother. My mother-in-law had been through quite a few surgeries over the last couple of years, and it doesn't make it easier, but it helps you cope. My grandma lived a full and rather healthy life, but she was over 80, and it had started to show. She would never have wanted to suffer, and I am relieved for her for that. They were both amazing women who lived for their family and friends and always tried to see the beauty in each day. So it is my duty to keep that alive. So smell the flowers every day you can. Notice the sunset, hear the lyrics, and help where you can. That is what helps me. Story 12. There are 2 things to consider here. First, the world has always been full of death and despair, even if you were unaware of it at the time. Even without humans, animals would kill or be killed or suffer slow, painful, miserable deaths. That old Addams Family line, "What is normal for the spider is chaos for the fly," is surprisingly accurate. Secondly, the key to a happy life is willfully ignoring the pain and suffering of all living creatures while maintaining compassion. There's a fine line between being self-aware and universally aware, but neither is particularly comfortable. Acknowledge that suffering exists and do whatever you can to alleviate it by helping others who need it and helping yourself when you do too. But keep it local and within your grasp. If you spend too much time worrying about the state of the world, knowing it's too far away to realistically help, It's time to scale back to things you can actively change. Mindfulness teaches us to spend less time lost in thought and more time engaging with our environment and sensory experiences. If you notice your thoughts drifting, mindfulness encourages you to bring your attention back to the sounds, smells, and sensations of your body and surroundings. This practice helps you redirect your thoughts away from negativity and focus on the present. Essentially, as I mentioned earlier, it's about willful ignorance, ignoring intrusive thoughts and grounding yourself in the present moment. This strategy also applies when the news or global issues become overwhelming. In those moments, focus on the smaller, more immediate things around you. Story 13. Stop watching the news. The sick people in journalism actively seek out the worst and most horrible things to make news out of, instead of what is actually happening generally in society. As a result, the world seems much worse than it actually is. Story 14. Focus on the little things. Build something in Minecraft. Make a 3D print. Hug your girlfriend. Betakut. Play or listen to music. The media is built around inducing rage or hopelessness. Yes, there's a lot of bad stuff in the world, but there's also a lot of good. It just doesn't get picked up by media because happy viewers don't tune back in as often. The trick is knowing either where to look or how to make it. Story 15. I just don't think about it, to be honest. I work, play video games, and plan the weekend if I feel like doing something. I'll read the news to stay updated, but I don't let things get to me on a personal level. Story 16. I ignore it because I know it is part of the world, and I cannot focus on all the negativity in the world. Cannot change it, so I choose to just go on. As long as my life is good, that is all that matters because, for me to help others, my life has to be good. Story 17. Stop reading the bad news. It's not ignorant, but you can't help anything about an accident or horrible politics half the world away. Not knowing the details of that doesn't make you uninformed, but it is a lot better for your own mental health. Story 18. Part of coping is understanding what your expectations were from the start. Death and despair are just part of the world. Cannot have life without death. Cannot have happy without sad. Understanding that there are cycles and sometimes good things find you, sometimes bad things do, and the good things are hiding and waiting to be found. Story 19. It's tough, but I focus on the small, good things. Spending time with loved ones, helping others when I can, and finding joy in little moments like a good meal or a sunset. It doesn't fix everything, but it helps me stay grounded. Story 20. I remind myself of the extremes that exist and the things that balance them out. In the same world that someone carelessly runs over someone else because of impatience, there is someone going out of their way and taking their time to help somebody else get to their destination. While there is gore and violence, there is also love and festivities. As someone who has worked in emergency medical services, I use this method to this day, which is why when I go sing karaoke in a Hello Kitty-themed room, you'll hear death metal roaring on the opposite side of the door. Balance, you know? Story 21. Look for the helpers. Whenever there is a natural disaster, look for the people that are helping others, whether that be a neighbor checking in on others, aid workers heading towards the disaster zones when everyone else is running away, or healthcare workers helping those that are hurt. There is good in the world, no matter how small. Story 22. It helps that I will die. This sounds messed up, and I'm not suicidal, but I genuinely mean it. Either I'll be reunited with people and animals I've lost, or I won't exist. Both possibilities are better than spending 250 more years among the same people who created capitalism and allowed it to go on for so long. When you get older, you suspect God didn't create this place to be lived in for more than 100 years. The world takes bites out of you, you lose parents, you lose pets, some people lose children, and you just have to keep fighting. But the thing about fighting is that it cannot last forever. It's not meant to. Someday, you and I and everyone else will be relieved of duty. The world is full of death. It's going to happen to all of us. But is it a bad thing? Living things have been dying for billions of years, and there's no evidence that there's anything bad about it. I do not hear the dinosaurs screaming. It's bad to be left behind. It might be great to be gone. Despair is a choice. At some point, capitalism will fall, barring human extinction. There will be a generation of heroes who disempower and eradicate the capitalist ruling class. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen long after we're all gone. Those of us who are still young and active may be chosen to participate, or we might be doing work that subtly influences events 200 years from now to support a million heroes we will never meet. That is up to God if God exists and not us. Story 23. You must accept that death is a part of life. Life can be brutal. You must take those little wins along the way. Do not sweat the small stuff. Try to fill your heart with love and measure it out as you go through your day, but also leave some for yourself and loved ones. If we just add the pain in the world, we run out of love. We all miss out. Anger can spread so quickly. It is highly flammable. Yet love is a bomb. Story 24. Is the world around you filled with negativity? If yes, try to help make a change. If no, focus on that and make it as beautiful as you can. If everyone would make the world around them a beautiful place, there wouldn't be this much suffering and despair. Death, on the other hand, is something that everyone has to face. But keep it small. You can't and don't have to make the whole world better, so you don't have to focus on that. Just try to make your direct surroundings as nice as possible. Story 25. I cope by focusing on the small moments of love and kindness. It's easy to get overwhelmed, but change starts with us doing better for each other and the planet. Stay hopeful and fight for a world where everyone matters. Story 26. Because it's also equally full of life and beauty, think of it more this way. Each time you see a bug on the street, pick it up and help it to a safer place. You've helped avoid death and despair, at least for a little while. Whenever you see the sunrise or sunset, make a note to stand and watch for a while. You'll see birds flying to their nests, clouds meandering their way across the sky. When you pass someone on the street or get your coffee from your barista, meet their eyes and give them a genuine smile. You'll be amazed at how wonderful it feels to connect with strangers. Each season has so much beauty and life within it. Even the seemingly dead of winter. All of those plants are sending their nutrients deep into their roots to grow back even stronger next spring. I found that bird watching really helps my suicidal thoughts. I have tried to memorize as many birds as I can around my area and will bring my binoculars out on walks with me. Each time I identify a goldcrest, tufted duck, or crested grebe, I am reminded of my small but significant place in the world. Taking care of life by volunteering, helping bugs like I do, or even bringing some oats to a pond to feed some ducks and swans, or even minimum bird seed at your window will help bring meaning to your own life too. Life changes when you start to consciously see the good and do the good. For every bad person or event, there are genuinely 100 more good things too. We just have to search for them, and I promise you don't have to search very far. Story 27. Being aware that negativity sells is a huge help. Clicks and engagement are higher if the content is generally negative. You don't hear or see the good in the world nearly as much as the bad. The bad was always there. Now it's just there for everyone to see, and media doubles down on it. Be the good in your immediate surroundings that you'd like to see or hear more about. Help, be kind, and avoid news and social media. Personally, it helped that I've trained my YouTube algorithm. It's cat videos, memes, and wholesome gaming-focused YouTubers. No rabbit holes, no controversy, no politics. If I want to know specific things that go on in the world, I specifically search for them and try to aim for original sources. For example, the voting period starts in my country in a month or two, so I go and read about each party's program from them. I inform myself actively and avoid passive mass media consumption. Story 28. The world was full of death and despair long before I got here. I cannot move the world on my own, and it will be what it is no matter what I think. I can only make the decision not to add to the death and despair for others, and to make my little area around me as nice as possible. Even though there are all the despairing bits and I can't ignore them, I can also make sure to pay attention to all the incomparably beautiful bits, of which there are also an endless amount. Story 29. It is definitely overwhelming at times. I try to focus on the small moments of beauty, whether it is a sunset, a kind word from a friend, or even just a cozy day at home. It does not fix everything, but it helps me find some peace amidst all the chaos. Story 30. I can only change what I can change. Wasting time, energy, and emotional capacity on the wider world is a swift way to both drive myself crazy and ensure I never get anywhere in life. Story 31. Stop scrolling the news and looking for the bad. There is a lot of good to focus on as well. Stay active and curious, and care about your own family and friends. Pay little gestures forward like the Japanese do. Always leave a space better than you found it. Pick up litter. Give someone a smile. There are so many things to make someone else's life brighter on a daily basis. You cannot solve the world's problems. You can only spread some joy and kindness yourselves, and it is contagious. Story 32. I replay my niece's hilarious videos. I got one yesterday. She's 2. She found one of her gifts under the tree, and when my sister asked if she was supposed to open that, she goes, "Tada! It's Coco Melon." Story 33. Don't read low-quality free newspapers. Normal news and information are not free. All this free media is focused on low-quality or attention-grabbing content to make you addicted to small amounts of pain, misery, and funny cats with dopamine reactions while making you think everything around is negative.